Today's class is class number 878, August 21st, 2025. The title, All Shall Know Me. Foundation scripture is Jeremiah 31, verse 34, where he says, no longer will one teach his neighbor or his son know me, know the Lord, for they will all know me, from the least to the greatest. And Paul, in Hebrews 8 and 11, quoted Jeremiah, saying, all will know me. Now, if we go back to what got us started this year was Ecclesiastes 3, 14 and 15. It says, remember, what God does is done forever. What God says, it's said forever. Nothing can be added to it, nothing taken away. So that means you're going to know me no matter how you cut it. You're going to know me no matter how long it takes, because in God there's no time. So we know that which is to be has already been, and that which has been is now. So that means you already know me. You just don't know you do. So, as I said earlier, when you know what God is, then you will know what you are. It's not the other way around. When you know what you are, you will know what God is, because you'll continually be confused with that type of thinking. So, let's start with, let's start with Matthew 5, verse 8. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the pure. That's what Jesus said. Now, they said it was a sermon on the mount, but in Aramaic, you realize it was no sermon. He was just sharing facts. If you're pure in heart, well, that means you are pure in heart. No matter what, you will see God. You're just coming to an understanding that you're pure in heart, because you understand that God is pure in heart. Now, pure in heart are those who have a singleness of purpose. The Aramaic meaning of it is single-mindedness, freedom from selfish desire. That's just wonderful. Pure in heart means I'm free of selfish desire. That means that you're going to demonstrate God and not effects. Everybody is trying to demonstrate effects. I know God if I got this happening and that happening. I got money coming in. I get sick. When I get well, so I'm demonstrating God. No, that's not it. Demonstrate God and not the effects. Because that's a double-minded man who's trying to demonstrate the effects and then say, I know God. Remember in James 1 and 8, it says, a double-minded man is unstable and he will receive nothing from the Lord. He's unstable. Psalm 51, if you remember, David has sinned. And David, in Psalm 51, said, create in me a clean heart. Why? Why did he say, create in me a clean heart? Well, remember, this is the same guy that wanted Uriah's wife. So, you know the sin. He felt the only way to have her was to work it out for himself. So, again, he had Elijah. He had Uriah basically murdered, because he had told them they were fighting a war, and he said, when told the generals, say charge, but don't nobody else go, and let Uriah run out by himself. And Uriah charged, and everybody else stayed back. And David felt real bad, because first he had him come, told him to go home and sleep with his wife. And Uriah said, no, because I have to guard the king. We all know that story. he tried to trick him into it so he could say, you know, he knew that she was pregnant, so, you know, he'll think it's his baby. And Uriah said, nah, not as long as the king's here. I'll guard the king. So David came up with another plan. Now, after that is done, and Nathan comes to him and tells him about his sin, he goes, oh, man, create in me a clean heart. Why? Because I have separated myself from God. I have separated myself from God. That means double-minded. I got God and I got me. Now, let's look at Adam and Eve. Now remember, here we got the allegory of two people in a garden, anything they want, and walking free. And they run across a tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's really the sin, to believe that that tree is a reality. And the serpent, thinking, double-mindedness, you know, they're tempted. And what are they tempted by? If you eat from this tree, you'll be like God. But they're already God, because God has appeared as who they are. But they think that there's something that will be like God if they eat from this tree. That means they believe in the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But in James 1:14, what does it say? Man is tempted and drawn away after his own lust. That means mankind. A lust for something draws you by way of your thought, your thinking, that you're entering into double-mindedness instead of realizing I have all there is to have. Luke 15, son, thou art ever with me, and all that is mine is thine. It's yours already, but you're trying to get what's already yours. That means you're double-minded. You need to understand my heart is pure. I don't have no business wanting this because I have it. Now, let's go to another allegory. Job. Remember, Job said, it might be that my children have sinned. So he sent up more burnt offerings. Why? He's double-minded. He's thinking they could go right or they could go wrong. And so therefore, let me try to cover them. Well, when you try to cover something from a double-minded state, you're adding to the word. Remember, we were talking last week, Jesus showed them how to pray first. And then after they did the Our Father, then he went on and shared with them images in their head. Think about the flowers. They don't toil and they don't spin. Think about the birds. They're not working, trying to get something. They don't store it up in barns. He said, but God takes care of them. So, you know, what he's saying is, when you leave the state of single-mindedness, which means really you don't leave it, you're tempted to think that you've left, you've separated yourself, but you can't separate yourself from God. That would be like the color red trying to separate itself from the color red. You can't do it. It's impossible. However, you can be tempted to think that you separated yourself. Well, further on in the story of Job, it says the sons of God came and presented themselves to the Lord. Sometimes I just sit around and I'm thinking about the sons of God. Okay, my five senses, right? My five senses present themselves to the Lord. And Satan comes too. That's what it said with Job. What is Satan? That thought of separation, that thought of, if you eat this, you can do this. You can be like God. You can create your own life. You can go out and do whatever you need to do what you want to do. You can be as rich as you want. And you hear a lot of the preachers, the new thought preachers and the faith message preachers telling you, you can have it all. You can have everything. I already have it all. The problem is I have not accepted the fact that I have it all. So I'm double-minded. Satan comes too. Have you considered Job? That's nothing more than Job's thinking gone awry. And therefore, it has to come to a point where he realizes, I see God. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. He comes to himself, and he realizes what God is, and then he knows himself. And then he's healed. But why didn't we hear something like, Job, be healed? In my name, be healed. No. When Job realized he is in the name, he's automatically restored to that to that entity that he is, because as long as God is who he is, then you shall know who you are. As long as you know God is God and every other man is a liar. So we know from that now that God is one self, one life. God is omnipresent, the substance of all form. God is and manifests as. I'm going to say that again. God is and manifests as what? As everything. As you and everything else. So in this world, everything appears as opposites. You ever notice that? There's always an opposite to something. Somebody has this, but somebody else doesn't. It doesn't seem like everybody has everything, because we're looking at an appearance of what is called the carnal mind. And that carnal mind is non-existent. It's not real. You're looking at something that's telling you that something is other than God. That's double-mindedness. But the grace of God has to be meditate. Think about it. Seek first the kingdom. Now, as you are doing that, and you're seeking the kingdom, which means you're listening for a word from God, you're feeling around within yourself for that, Joel Goldsmith calls it the click, that confident feeling that I'm all right. Everything's all right. Everybody is all right. I don't care who they are. Well, what? You mean Job prayed for his friend? Yeah. That means when I pray for you, everybody on this class, when I look around and realize God is everywhere all the time, everything and what have you, I'm restored to an air of confidence, and I have to maintain that by realizing what God is. That's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. It doesn't change. God is always what God is. So what's happening then? The grace comes and it causes the gift. Remember the gifts of the Spirit? Well, by faith, you open up spiritual discernment. Spiritual discernment. Otherwise, we fall prey to opposing thoughts. Without spiritual discernment, and we always have it, we have these gifts. God doesn't give us a gift to deal with our situations. We have the gift of spiritual discernment to realize there's nothing here but God. I don't care how bad it looks. I don't care how good it looks. There's nothing here but God. Now, these thoughts make peace and create hardship. That's the double-mindedness of it all. You are the image and likeness of God, God communing, the Son of God, aware of the perfection of the Father, yet free will seems to tempt you to believe that, okay, well, I can be this and I can be that. I can make my own way. I need to get a good job so that I can make it. I need to have enough money to live in this particular city. I need enough money to be able to cover my expenses, to do this, to do that. And yet all of the time you have God, which means you have everything there is to have. Wow. And I keep stopping and thinking about it, because this is reaching me every time I go through it. I think about, oh, I got this day coming up, and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I stop and I think, but this thing's already done. It's already done. See, these thoughts that make peace and create evil have to be given up. And it's up to us to know the Christ man versus mortality. We really don't have any argument or any fight with mortality. Was it Hezekiah? I think it was, where he said, oh, Jehoshaphat, you will not have to fight in this battle. The Lord will fight for you. Moses, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. What does it mean? Quit thinking about it. Quit thinking about what you got to do. Quit thinking about what you have to have, because it has already been provided. God already gave you those images of the perfection of his creation, and you are one with that creation. Now, here's the problem. Here's the difficult part. Paul said the carnal mind is enmity against God. I remember when I read somewhere in Joel Goldsmith's writings, he said, and that was Paul creating all kinds of problems for himself, because he made the carnal mind enmity against God. When you realize that the carnal mind is nothing, it does not have any power, because God has all power. God's not going to set up some entity that he's got to fight with. The only fight that you ever have is the fight of faith. We walk by faith and not by sight. So therefore, once we make the decision to accept the fact that God is all there is, we're done dealing with other powers. But there's only one power. And God's eyes are too pure to behold iniquity. You hear people say, well, why don't God get me out of this? God does not look at you being in any type of a situation. God knows that you have his mind, its mind, her mind, whatever pronoun is right. God is the mind of mankind. And when we realize this, we see good and we see evil. But we realize if God is the form, there's no such thing as material good and material evil. It just looks that way. And we are not judged by this, because we know God is the form. So the idea is, in order to see God, we have to quit being double-minded. That means we are led by the heart, the pure heart. And once that pure heart takes over, here's the difficult part: looking at what appears to be hanging around, hanging on. It seems like you're testing yourself to see if you accept and believe that God is the only power. But you're not. You're just so inundated with the appearances all around the world, especially nowadays. You're inundated with it. You can't cut your TV on or your radio. I don't even cut the radio on, but you can't cut the TV on. You can't do anything. You can't even just walk outside and not be confronted with something that seems to be fighting what you believe, fighting who you are, when in reality, it takes grace. You cannot do it in and of yourself. Jesus couldn't, and none of us can. In and of myself, I can do nothing, but the Father within, that means the Christ consciousness of perfection, doeth the works. There is not God and. I have a book, Realization of Oneness, and it's by Goldsmith, and he has a chapter in there called No God and. In other words, we don't have God and something else. God and something to fix. You say, yeah, but look at what happens. Like cars break down and all kinds of things happen, and you got to fix it. plumbing in the house and all this, that, and the other. Yeah, but if you look at it and know that God is all there is, the substance of all form, and you get peaceful about that, the ideas come as how and the direction to go in. Because I don't know about you, but I've had things go bad, and I've called up people that I know, especially friends or people who are mechanics, and have them fix stuff, and then still be fixing it a week from now, 2 weeks from now. It was fixed, but it broke. Oh, I forgot to put this in. You got all that kind of stuff. And you know good and well that that's this world. But in the kingdom of heaven, we know that if we think about Jesus' prayer, God has taken care of everything because there was nothing for God to take care of. It's just we have to stay in that consciousness. Yeah, it'll look like you're going through something. It'll look like you're trying to maintain peace, trying to maintain that serene feeling that you have or what have you, but something is always bouncing up against it, and that is not a reality. It just, there's been enough people in the world who have thought in line with the carnal man. And because those people have thought that and brought it into view, you're looking at it all day long. You didn't have anything to do with good and evil. You had nothing to do with bringing about flus, cold sicknesses, a season. Jamal and Lisa are supposed to go on vacation on Saturday in the Outer Banks, but yet the Outer Banks got evacuated because of the hurricane. At first it was some kind of, what they call it, tropical storm. Was that supposed to ease the blow? No. There is the storm warnings, all this kind of stuff, and we can't help but buy into it. None of us go, oh, okay, evacuate. Okay, well, we evacuate, but we only doing this because this is the law of the land. You know, render unto Caesar what's Caesar. Do what they say do, but I don't believe in storm. I don't believe in pain and suffering and all this. But there's that little Satan comes to, what if, and you fill in the blank. See, enough people have already brought that kind of stuff into the world, and there's nothing that you can do other than don't believe it, don't buy into it. And it takes the grace of spiritual discernment for you to do that, because through that you will know God, you will see me. Now, let's go to something else. The difficult part of knowing only God. I'm going to read a couple of things here from the No End book. And it says, there is only one way to be rid of the human picture. That means that mortal picture. And that is to understand that there is no person and there is no selfhood other than God in the room or in any other place. But the hypnotized person will at once, he'll counter with, how can you say that there is only God in the room? And the answer is simple. There's only one life, and that life is God. There's only one soul, and that soul is God. There's only one spirit. There's only one law. There's only one creative principle, God. So what then can be present except God? That's powerful. As long as I stay along that line, I don't have to reason anything. The moment you see God and something else, you are hypnotized. The moment you see a mortal material world, you are hypnotized. And from then on, there's no possible way to get rid of the appearance. That is the reason that even if you kill the snake that you thought was a snake in the flower pot, it'll show up again somewhere else, maybe in your closet, maybe somewhere. It's just, that's the serpent. You are always confronted with looking at something that appears to be good and evil, yet until the spirit of spiritual discernment comes in and takes over, you're going to be dealing with that. Always constantly trying to deal with something. You know, my hip feels bad, my knee feels bad. I got this gimp. I have all these different things. I got too many bills. I heard Joel Goldsmith say one time, God is not going to pay your bills. I never knew what he meant. So I got quiet and I said, God, what does that mean? We talking about years of trying to understand, what do you mean God's not going to pay my bills? And it dawned on me, oh no man, nothing but to love him. God does not pay your bills because in that particular situation, you're double-minded. You got you and God. God trying to pay what you owe. And God is like, I am the substance of all form. So the form is, if you want to be out of debt, God is taking care of it already. Because there's no God and me. Now, here's another. If you can agree that there is God, which means that you accept an infinite power of good, certainly then you must be able to understand that there cannot be error, disease, or death. In fact, not since time began has there ever been a single death in the kingdom of God. There is no death. And it's like, yeah, but you can yell but all you want. Nobody ever died. Nobody ever died. If all shall know me, how did they die? If God said, I created my image and likeness, and it's as perfect as I am, how can it die? I don't know what death is. That's difficult. That is not easy to just wrap your head around and say, okay, because you were here, you were living with a lady, and you had her for 53 years living with you, and now she's gone. But yet you have spiritual discernment saying, no, life is eternal. To know him aright is life eternal. Wow. To know God aright is life eternal. Nobody died. So now, what are you doing? You feel like you're reprogramming yourself. However, you're not reprogramming. You're just in touch with what God is, and that makes you know who you are. You don't need any reprogramming. You just need to let go of that which you were taught from day one. Let's see here. So whatever you see in the nature of sin, disease, or death is a part of the hypnosis. And furthermore, whatever you see as good humanhood is also a part of the same hypnosis. Even the healthy human being of 30 or 40 will someday be an old human being of 70 or 80. Now, when he says human being, he's talking about mortality. When you see a young, healthy person, therefore you are just being fooled by an appearance of good until you can become dehypnotized to the degree that you know that there are not good mortals or bad mortals, then there are not diseased mortals being mortal beings or healthy mortal beings, but that there is only God, the one life, the one soul, the one spirit, the one substance, the one law, the one activity. Until that time, you will have to experience what the world calls death. That is just tremendous. And we're gonna go further along with getting rid of this hypnotism next week. We have to just keep dealing with this because the whole world appears to be hypnotized. Now, you know damn well there's no such thing as a person who is hypnotized because God is the only person. So God can't be hypnotized. However, we have to come into that consciousness and understand what it is. Now, we just got through You know, we've been through all of this to let us know why we're dealing with what we're dealing with. And what are we dealing with? We're looking at appearances of good and evil, and we're trying to do away with them. And that means that there's this illusion of being hypnotized. But we know that there's no and. There's no God and. There is no such thing as God and a hypnotized person. God and a good person. There's no such thing as that. There's just God appearing as. Now, let's take a look at Exodus 33 and 20. This is even more difficult. It says, you cannot see my face. No man can see me and live. Remember, he was talking to Moses. No man can see me and live. Let's look at Second Chronicles 7 and 14. Now remember, we just said no man can see my face and live. Well, 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, and then he says, seek my face. Wait a minute, you just told me I can't seek your face. If I see your face, I can't live. But here in 2 Chronicles, it's telling me to seek his face. And turn from their wicked way, I'll hear from heaven and heal their land. What land? Their conscience. But a little bit of meditation and contemplation will lead you to realize that these scriptures are saying the same thing. If you're pure in heart, you will see God. You'll see his face. If you're not pure in heart, you won't see his face. However, if you see his face, what happens? You drop the the double-mindedness. You drop that. You have to really realize that only with a pure heart can I know you. See, when I see your face, I can't continue to be double-minded. When I see God's face, I can't continue to be double-minded. When I look in your face, you guys on this class, if I don't see God, then I'm double-minded. But if I look in your face and see God, God heals my double-mindedness. God causes me to realize I have singleness of purpose, and that is to walk by faith and not by sight. Only with a pure heart can I see, can I know you. And when I look at so-called good or evil, I must discern the spirit behind a form. Now, I know, even though I can enjoy some of the so-called good things, there's only one good, God. So when I am enjoying myself to the fullest, I'm enjoying God. I'm not enjoying the thing. I'm not enjoying the car. I'm not enjoying the vacation, the airplane ride. I'm not enjoying the singing, the performing. I'm enjoying God because I know that all I'm doing is giving out God and receiving God. I read Lillian DeWater said, if you have something to sell, then you are God selling. And if you have something to buy, you are God buying. You give to yourself and you receive from yourself. And the only thing you're ever given is truth. That's amazing. Because the deeper we go into knowing what God is, the more grace we receive to be able to deal with the everydays of life. I can enjoy some of this so-called good, but I got to realize I'm enjoying God. That's all. There is nothing else to enjoy. It just looks like something that we call good. Remember, they looked at Jesus and they said, good master. And he said, no, don't call me good. There's only one good, God. They were saying, the stuff that you're doing is good. No, The stuff that God has done is good. There's only one good. God called everything that he created very good. In Aramaic, it says very beautiful. I prefer that Aramaic. It is very beautiful. God, in Alice's words a few minutes ago, is delightful. It is delightful to know that I am delighting myself in God. I am not delighting myself in the effect that has come to me. I'm delighting myself in the Lord. And the desires of my heart have already been given. The other day I found myself contemplating, ask and it is given. What? What am I asking for? The kingdom. I just want to know you. I want to see you, God. I want to see and feel you. That's it. The rest will take care of itself because it's already taken care of. Now, what's difficult? To maintain that level of consciousness from a mortal perspective. To maintain that consciousness from a mortal perspective. Yeah, that's difficult because you look around and you keep seeing these appearances, and the first thing is, and Satan came too. Satan came to tempt you to judge by the appearance. Let us not enter into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. What? Yeah, what's the evil one? That thought that says, I got a right, free will to think any kind of way that I want to think. That's what I'm being delivered from. Hebrews 2:14, we quote it on here all the time. He became flesh and blood and destroyed him who had the power of death, that is the devil. Yeah, because there is no death. Yeah, that's pretty deep, isn't it? If you continue in my word, you are my disciples indeed. You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. What is the truth? You are not hypnotized. It just appears that way. It appears that you find yourself judging by appearances, calling, well, man, I call a spade a spade. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. No, it's God appearing as a duck. Can a duck be good or can a duck be bad? Can it be evil? It can only be what it is, God appearing as. You are to enjoy your freedom. Freedom to not judge by the appearances. Freedom to understand that the spiritual discernment gift is operating. Faith is operating. Love and joy and peace. All of that's operating. You know, because the moment I spiritually discern that there's nothing here but God, then the rest of the gifts are what? Okay. You're buying in. You've bought in. Seeing God, knowing the truth, you know me. You see my face. You cannot continue to be south of the border. You cannot continue to be double-minded because you see my face. You know me. From the least of who you are to the greatest of who you are. We are always looking in the face of God. There's no time that we're not looking in the face of God. We're always looking at God. I don't care what it is. I don't care how raggedy the chair looks. I don't care how broken something is. We're always looking at God, the harmony of the universe. Creation is complete. It is perfect. God, the principle of perfection, is always flowing perfectly in our being. We just need to know that. We just need to realize our oneness with that. And as I said, we're going to go deeper and deeper into this hypnotism because this is the kind of thing that I could just get together in 45 minutes and share it, and then you just grab it and understand it and run with it. We're going to talk about it until we go up the road. I'm going to, as I said, have to leave, take Jamal. However, we're going to keep the class on in the car so I can be part of the Q&A. But if you continue in my word, you are my disciples indeed. You will be free. What do you mean I'll be free? Well, you'll realize your freedom. You won't be judging by appearances anymore. You will know the truth. I am the truth. All of that meditation is doing something. It is causing us to realize God is the only power. God is the only life. God is the only truth. There is nothing else. And because there is nothing else, we walk by faith, not by what we see, not by sight, but we know I am the kingdom of God. I am the Word made flesh. All know me. Amen. And so it is.